and welcome to Straight Talk, No Chaser, because our life matters. Stop eating poison. I'm going to say that one more time. Stop eating poison. Let me tell you what the definition of poison is. Poison is a substance that is capable of causing illness or death to a living organism when it's consumed or absorbed. It is a substance that is capable of causing illness or death to a living organism when it is consumed or absorbed. That's the definition of poison. And when we think about the direct correlation between the foods that we consume and the illnesses and the deaths that are a result of the foods that we consume, then we can conclude that we are consuming poison. It has been documented and noted that 60% of a diet of an American contains toxins. 60% of what we consume contains toxins that can cause illness and lead to death. We have to stop consuming poison. We have to educate ourselves, because you say, well, what is poison? I don't know. What do you mean when you say what is poison? When we select our food, we have to know what is in that food. We can no longer play ignorant. We can no longer say, I didn't know. We can no longer say, but it tastes good, or I don't like the way that tastes. We can no longer buy into being ignorant when it comes to our foods and our health, because death is not ignorant, and death does not discriminate. It doesn't care who it attacks. It doesn't care who it consumes. It does its job, and it does it well. So it is time for us to start educating ourselves and learning, what is it that's considered poison? What is it that's considered toxins? Because I don't know. Well, here we go. When you consume your food, when you go to the grocery store to buy your food, it is time for you to start reading the packages of the food. Once you understand what those poison buzzwords are, then you will put that food back on the shelf, because you do not want to participate in your death. You want to be an active participant in a healthy, vibrant life. So some of the words that we need to look for when we go to the grocery store and we pick up those packages off the shelves, words like trans fat. Trans fat. What it means is they took a healthy fat, like say for instance a corn or a soybean, and they put it in through a chemical process. And during that process, it kind of turns into an oil, and that oil becomes coagulated. And they put it in our foods so our foods can stay fresh on the shelves. Well, when we see the term fresh, do we understand that fresh meaning, I don't know, 12 months, 24 months, 3 years, 5 years? That chemical is put into our food so our foods can stay fresh for years. When you consume that chemical, that very toxic chemical, then your body's working so hard trying to break that chemical down because it's considered foreign to the body. So we need to look for words like trans fat. Another word we need to look for is shortening, the word shortening. Now, if you remember back in the day, shortening was Crisco grease, the grease that came in the can. And your mom would take the can with the can opener, take the top of the can off, and that Crisco grease sat on the sink or the stove for 12 months. You can heat it up, pour it right back in the can, let it get cool again, cover it up, and use it again. That's shortening. That's the ingredient that they put in honey buns, or they put in moon pies, or anything that can make it last for a very long, long time. That's shortening. Well, when we consume that, it coagulates just like if we used to dump it down the sink and it would turn into this white, thick, gelatinous type of gel, and it would get clogged up in the pipes. So if it clogged up the pipes of our sink, you can be guaranteed it's clogging up the pipes of your arteries. And as your blood's trying to flow through, it is coagulating and it forms these little tiny things called blood clots. Then those blood clots try to go through the heart or the lungs, and the blood can't pass through. So guess what happens? The body stops working because of this coagulated fat that's now in the system. So we got trans fats, we got shortenings, but I'm telling you, the evil of all evils, is the high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is what you find in any beautifully colored drink. Red, yellow, green, blue, whatever these beautiful colored drinks are, punches. High fructose corn syrup is its main ingredient. And when I tell you that high fructose corn syrup, I call it the evil of the evils, because what it does is it forces the body to now produce more of these fat storing hormones. So now we're storing more fat, but it's an empty calorie, so it makes you hungry. So you're continually trying to eat to try to satisfy that hunger, and you're doing it with these ingredients that keep you wanting and desiring sugar. It's these chemicals that trick the brain to make you think that you're hungry and you want more and you want more. So now the body's storing all this sugar and converting it into fat, and now our arteries once again are getting clogged with that Crisco grease that we used to pour down the sink back in the day. So if you see high fructose corn syrup on the back of a package, put it back on the shelf. Now, unfortunately, just about everything that we consume that's in the package has high fructose corn syrup in it, because it's used as a preservative, again, to make things last for a very, very, very long time. Another evil are artificial sweeteners. You say, well, what's an artificial sweetener? Well, when you go to a restaurant, there's this little square little container that sits on the table at every restaurant. And in that container, it has all these beautifully colored packages of sugar. One might be yellow, one might be pink, one might be blue. Those are considered artificial sweeteners. And the artificial sweeteners, what they do is they mess with our body's ability to metabolize the food. We consume artificial sweeteners and probably just about everything like high fructose corn syrup. So what's happening, I was reading a study that says they no longer sell the big bags of white sugar anymore. That has dropped because now they're putting it into the food directly. And they're not calling it sugar. That'll be too easy for us to recognize it. They're calling it things like aspartame. So they're calling it things like sweet and low. All these different code names and buzzwords. What that is a poison. Period. Learn the buzzwords and the names so you'll know that you are consuming poison. So we got artificial sweeteners, we got the high fructose corn syrups. Probably one of the deadliest chemicals that's used is the chemicals that they put in soda. And they put this particular chemical in soda to prevent the soda from molding. It prevents fungus from growing in your soda so it can sit on the shelf for months. And we're consuming sodas on a daily basis, sometimes several times a day. So we're consuming that chemical that's in the soda that prevents the soda from molding, and our bodies are fighting so hard to try to work against that. So hard to work against that. So that's a very deadly chemical that we are consuming. That's a poison that we are consuming. Lunch meats, hot dogs, bologna, turkeys, all of those packaged lunch meats that we get because it's convenient for us. Those meats contain such deadly poisons and chemicals that it allows the meat to stay preserved in the grocery store or on the shelf for months. You think by the time you get it and the expiration date says next week that it was processed last week? No. That meat was processed months ago. So they had to put these chemicals in it to preserve it and package it. So by the time you purchase it, you actually thought that that turkey was killed last week. It wasn't. You thought the pig for the hot dog was killed last week. It wasn't. That pig was killed months ago. So you're consuming not only high salty meats, but these chemicals and preservatives that they put in the meats in order to put it on the shelf and let it sit there for weeks and weeks and weeks. And another buzzword we need to look for is MSG, flavorings. All of these packages that have all of the flavorings and the salts already in them, those chemicals are so poisonous to our metabolism. Our bodies fight so hard to try to process and put the food in the right place, but it's also rejecting this foreign object that it doesn't recognize. And we're forcing it every single day. We're forcing our bodies to accept this chemical. And our bodies are trying so hard to reject it. But last but not least, probably the most popular but deadliest chemical that we put in our foods is red, yellow, blue, green dye. Dye equals death, period. There's no way around it. If you consume foods that are very pretty in color, they're probably the deadliest. When you consume drinks that are very pretty in color, they're probably the deadliest. When you consume candy that's full of color, all of those dyes that they have to put in that candy totally works against your metabolism. Your organs are grinding, trying to figure out, A, what is this that I'm trying to process? And B, where do I put it? I don't know where to put it. So what happens is your organs become overworked. Then they become tired. And when they become tired, they quit. So we are consuming poisons that's causing our bodies to quit the race before it's time. We got to educate ourselves. We have to understand what we're eating, and we have to say no to it. Because if we don't say no, our bodies are going to say no for us. I can't do it, I'm done. And that's how you meet an untimely death. So we have to educate ourselves. We have to be able to understand that if you're okay with death being your side order for your main meal, then you're going to have to ride with that. But if you're not okay with death being your side order for your main meal, then you need to make healthy choices so life can be your side order. We have to do this. We were given life as a gift, and the only thing God asked us to do was give it back to him as a present. He said, present it back to me the way I gave it to you. So we got the gift of life, and the Creator is asking for us to give it back to him as a present. That's the least we can do. And I don't know about you, but if I'm going to give God a present, it's probably going to be the best present that I could possibly give. I am not going to give him junk. So until we meet again next time, let's talk about it on Facebook. Hit us up on Florida's Elite. Ask your questions. Let's interact. But we have to understand, we have to stop eating poison. It is time to live. It is not time to die. Until then, God bless you.